Welcome back to Scoundrels, another Star Wars podcast. I am Frank Janik, and this week I am here by the one, the only, Sean Sullivan. We're here to talk about the Acolyte, episode 4, titled Day. All right, let's talk about it, Sean. How you doing?
Well, so it is Day, and I think the episode's titled that because we have a new birthday. I want to wish a very happy birthday.
That bread?
Yeah, it's white bread. Bread. Plain white bread. We don't want anything too spicy, too flavorful for our boy, Ki-Adi-Mundi, because he's got a new birthday. Ki-Adi-Mundi's got a new birthday, everybody.
Amazing,
so we're going to wish him a happy fucking birthday. So apparently the fan base's new stick up their ass is Ki-Adi-Mundi's birthday was 93 BBY. He wasn't alive in 133 BBY.
Incredible.
Shove this up your ass.
Oh boy. By the way, I'm actually in Chicago. I'm not home in LA. I'm on vacation. I went back to Chicago, went back home to Chicago, hence the shirt here. And so I gotta be honest with you, Sean. I haven't really seen a lot of the discourse online just because I've been, out and about and doing things. I haven't watched the episode. I did see it in an altered state that due to drinking libations, if you will. And so, but I did then skim through it a second time. Didn't watch it completely, but so I'm going to lean on you a little bit more here to refresh the memory, and to spur some of this conversation today. I'm glad you could be here, because I'm gonna need all your help today.
Well, okay,
vacation brain. So I'm a little scattered brain,
Yeah. So you missed the drama. Let's just say
I don't know if I missed it, but
okay. Well, I'll just say here.
Yeah.
I don't speak. I'm technically how do we say this? I'm like a series regular here, right?
A correspondent.
Yeah. I'm not a main host here on Scoundrels Inc. anymore. I'm a correspondent.
Well, no one really is, except for me.
Yeah, it's just you. But the other two are here more often, right?
That's true.
I show up when there's a show on, or we need to really talk about something in gaming. I'll pop in. Wikipedia, there was some, people started changing the date of Ki-Adi-Mundi's birthday, and people flipped out and started saying Lucasfilm doesn't care about canon. Listen, none of this is canon. Canon doesn't matter. It doesn't. It never has. It never has. It never will. But that's not how George would. Are you sure?
Oh, okay.
George would take a shit and wipe with a pile of Legends books. George didn't care.
I know. Didn't Filoni talk about this a little while ago? There was G canon, George canon, and then there was the EU, and he kind of had his own. And that's kind of what Filoni, I think he said in an interview that he kind of followed.
Yeah, I don't know about Filoni, but there's always been kind of the idea of G canon, whatever George has written is canon. Everything else is fan fiction that Lucasfilm produces. Right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I promise. I think
I tell you though, I was surprised when I saw him show up, but I was like, is that actually him? I had to wait till the credits, obviously, and that confirmed it. But I was like, oh, this is interesting.
So it's really an interesting choice to have Kai in this episode.
Yes, there's got to be a specific reason by Leslie Headland of why she decided, because she knows what she's doing when you insert a character like that.
Right. Well, think about it. Right. So you have two big things working towards having Ki-Adi-Mundi in this episode, and there's also one big thing that I heard earlier that I originally didn't think about, but now that it's in my head, it's important. One big thing that you have to keep in mind with Ki-Adi-Mundi being in this episode, couple big things. The first one being that remember, he's the one that calls out the Sith being extinct in Phantom Menace.
Right. Right.
Right?
For over a millennia.
So, for over a millennia. Yeah, exactly. So, this idea that he's there at this time where these Sith acolytes are popping up means that he's always been in denial, and whatever happens here will not reveal the Sith to the Jedi. So that gives us, the fans who are paying attention, a big clue that, hey, whatever happens here, the Jedi aren't going to become wise to the fact that these are Sith.
Because
and it explains the rest of that conversation in that room. Sorry to cut you off, but it explains the rest of that conversation in that room where they're saying, well, what is this? Some sort of splinter order? Is this some sort of weird cult? So that's the first big thing with why Kai's there. It explains the Jedi's stance on the Sith, and it brings that where Ki-Adi-Mundi was at the start of the prequels, we're still in that same mentality towards the Sith.
What's funny is this kind of reveals the Jedi. They don't prepare for the worst and expect the worst. They prepare for the best and don't expect the worst, because like worst case scenario is some people would automatically jump to, well, what if this is the Sith? Like It's not even entertained at this point in the story. It's not even entertained. They're thinking, oh, this is a master. Vernestra says, oh, this, you don't have to. I can see this. She's been trained by a Jedi, and so they're like, who is her master? And it just doesn't even enter their mind that it could be something else other than a rogue Jedi, if you will, who's now trained in Mae. I mean, it very well could be, but that doesn't mean that this person is now not a Sith and that the Sith order, the rule of two, is in play. It is that briefing was a very interesting scene, which I gotta go rewatch. But yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I want to talk about that more, but I'm gonna get to the two other, the one other. Well, really, it's the one other Ki-Adi thing, right? So the other thing is, this is the episode where what happens? What's the big thing in this episode?
The big bad shows up.
No. What's the aside from that? That's the big reveal. But what's the what's the thrust of, where we took from episode 2 to episode 3? Or episode 2 to episode 4, because we're going to skip 3 in this timeline, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Mae has killed
2 Jedi.
Killed 2 Jedi, and she's after her third.
I saw her flip in terms.
No. What about the Sith attack on the Wookiees?
What about it, John?
What about the Sith attack on the Wookiees?
Oh my gosh, how could we forget?
Famous line by Ki-Adi-Mundi. What about the droid attack on the Wookiees? So, the episode where you've got the Wookiees getting attacked, our good old Conehead fan Conehead boy over there. This isn't just a party hat. This is me repping the Coneheads.
Oh.
When you really think about it.
Okay.
Brave of you. Serene pride, right? You just got to get... Anyways, I don't know, man. I don't know. The fandom's dumb. So there's some really interesting conversations. Vernestra is her big ol' stern, angry, leading this weird council. I don't know what's going on with this council. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they represent, because they're not the Jedi Council.
No, because they reference the High Council, that they don't want to even tell the High Council about some of this stuff. So
are they like a weird war council? Or are they like a lesser council? Because when we see, again, I know a little bit about the High Republic. I don't follow it as well as I probably should. But when we see the Jedi Council in the prequels, it's, the 12, 13 members, something like that.
Right.
So these are not them. Because there's no Yoda, there's no Oppo Rensis, who I think is also part of the council at this time. I don't know whether or not Plo Koon would be part of the council at this time. I don't know who else is still alive. I don't know whether or not... I suspect Vernestra is part of the council, but I don't know for sure.
It doesn't seem like it, because it'd be weird if for her to have this information and then not tell the rest of her group.
Well, it seems like it might be some sort of like Operation Chain of Command, because it seems like Vernestra... Sure. It seems like Vernestra was very much in charge of this group. She's also robed differently than everyone else, which that could be just a character design choice, or it could be signifying that, she is a different rank than...
Yeah. She definitely has an elevated status for sure.
Which
Yeah.
that's what
So,
makes me kind of suspect she's probably on the council. But again, I don't know. We don't know. I don't know. You
yeah.
know, but it seems like she has, she's the one calling the shots. She says, "Hey, you other Jedi whose name I don't remember, you go bring in Kelnacca and
Is it?
stop Mae." Until Soul says, "No, let me go do it." Right. And I have a conspiracy theory, Frank.
Oh, here we go.
Perhaps Vernestra Rowe is a Sith Lord.
Come on.
No. I don't really think that. There was a brief
Okay.
moment where I thought that, but I'll tell you what. On my second rewatch,
Okay.
there is, um, there's a line that is out of place. Vernestra says, "Why didn't you tell me she was still alive?" Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if Vernestra was somehow involved, if she was Captain Smiles, right?
Right.
Which is possible because Captain Smiles has that he's got like the mask is very close to the top of a head.
Sure.
Maybe like the type of mask you'd have to shave your head bald in to fit into properly.
Perhaps.
Um
But then again, heads of hair, has fit in
I
tighter helmets
it
before.
depends.
It's
It depends.
yeah, yeah.
I just thought that
AKA
would be
AKA Kylo Ren, So
yeah,
like
it'd be an interesting. It would just be, I was just trying to rule. I'm trying to rule people out here. It's a mystery show,
sure.
That line would have been out of place whether or not she was the master because, if she was, she wouldn't even want to bring it up. She wouldn't want to bring it up and
Right.
like, but, um, yeah, so that was kind of interesting. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't." It was nice to see a little bit more compassion from her because we've kind of just gotten, stern, angry Vernestra. I don't know.
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, anything about the council? We're just moving on. I don't.
I mean, first of all, usually we just start off with overall thoughts here because we just kind of just dove right in, which is fine because that is an interesting point to start with. But I'll just say, and I think I have seen this criticism. This was a pretty short episode,
Yeah,
and I think it was so far. I think this was the wrong episode to be this short, if only because it probably could have used. I don't know. I'm making up a number, 10 more minutes. If only because my only issue with this episode that I didn't feel great about was how quick we see Mae flip from the time the one conversation he has with Qimir, he goes off, whatever, and then he comes back, and then she's like,
and the next time
"You
we
know
see
what?
her, yeah,
I don't need to." And look, I can. It's logical to me, based on the flashback episode, that she could get to that point, but the episode didn't do the work to help us along. I feel like, and the way I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, I can see her eventually getting to that point. She does have a strong connection with her sister. I could see how that would supersede any loyalty she has to the master, as she calls him, right? I could totally see that, but I just feel like, and I know they kind of explain it in the episode does in a way where Mae says, Osha being alive changes everything. And I'm like, well, why exactly? And then we find out she made a deal. Chimir's made a deal. The master collects people. There's a lot
no.
of interesting stuff in there
Chimera
that is
hasn't
said.
made a deal. Chimera specifically.
That's right. He said he
hasn't made a deal. Yeah,
but he does say he does owe him. That's what he does say.
He
Says he does owe him, which is close to a deal. But you're right, not technically one, I guess.
I got thoughts on that too. My overall thoughts. Yeah, I agree. The episode was too short. I do agree the shift came pretty quickly, but I think the shift came quickly because now look at where we end that episode, right?
Sure.
The Jedi roll up on Kelnacca's
corpse,
Chateau de la Forest, and who's inside? A dead Kelnacca and Mae, right? So it doesn't matter that she's made that change. The Jedi now think she's, guilty.
Well, she's already killed 2 Jedi, regardless.
Right. Also, she's killed 2 Jedi. So I think that the reason that shift was so quick is because we're not gonna then build upon that next episode. Now is where we start to get the suspicion from the Jedi and stuff like that. Overall, I think the episode was really good. I enjoyed it. I have Apparently, the writer of this episode wrote this episode and the next one.
Okay.
So I'm assuming they were written and shot together. I don't know why you split the episodes, right? Just make it be a big long episode, right? Make it be an hour long, hour 10 long episode. Who cares, right?
I'll say this though, I don't mind where the episode ends. Actually, I think it's fun it ends that way. To tell you the truth,
I don't either, but I also understand that most of the fan base is gonna feel cheated by that, especially if essentially you're filming one story and you're just cutting it arbitrarily at the
I
climax.
do get the argument. It just doesn't bother me the way it bothers other people, and that's completely. It's a fair opinion. It's a fair opinion.
Yeah, it just feels like you're cutting it off at sort of the hook. Again, I'm fine with it. I've kind of come to expect it, right? Andor has weird act outs or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we had all those conversations back during Andor. Andor's got weird cutouts. You know, Andor's got weird spots where it just ends abruptly. This is kind of the same. The episode was fine. I liked it. I'm very excited to find out what happens next week. And I think there's some cool building blocks, right? Like I think, look, apparently I learned today a lot of people don't like Ki-Adi-Mundi for a number of reasons. That's fun. Like Star Wars fans don't like Ki-Adi-Mundi, right? That's fine. I think it's funny that the Dan Aykroyd alien from Coneheads is in Star Wars, right? I think it's funny.
Say this real quick.
I think it's funny that George went, you know, hey, tell you what, could you put the Dan Aykroyd alien as one of the Jedi Masters? And you know what, while you're at it, throw an ET in there. You know,
just put him off in a pod somewhere.
Just put some ETs in that little bathtub pod, you know?
Steven's on set. Let's run an ET.
Like,
can I just say real quick about Ki-Adi-Mundi? Like, I don't really know a whole lot about the character outside of what I've seen.
Well, let me tell you, Frank.
In the movies,
Ki-Adi-Mundi is a ladies' man.
I've heard. I think we've had this discussion. I don't know if it was on camera or off discussion.
Or off camera. Look, Frank, Ki-Adi-Mundi fucks. Okay.
He does. Oh, how many wives do you think he has at that point in the
I don't know,
timeline?
7, 8, 12, 13.
The same ones? You think he kept the same ones? Anyways,
yeah.
This neither here nor there. The dude gets around, right? You know, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Can I tell you why I like Ki-Adi-Mundi? It has nothing to do with his character. I like the design, and I like the shots of him on Mykeeto, right? I like him charging forward with the big tri-droids, and then he just realizes and stops, and his end is so tragic. Like all the Jedi from, you know, Plo Koon, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Kit Fisto, all their ends in Revenge of the Sith made me love them, and I don't know what, because like, I want so now they're gone. I want more, right?
Sure.
You know, look, I get it. You know, Ki-Adi-Mundi's a big old dummy in the movies, you know, but I think he's
I think
Star
he's
Wars. Fun. Yeah, I think he's fun. Okay, so we go off, we take the starship, they take some red shirts, you know, some of the security crew, if you will, you know.
Right.
I've seen everyone call them red shirts.
It was cool. It was cool to see like a flock of Jedi in like an actual live location, you know, just like in the hills.
Yeah.
I thought that looked pretty cool. Like a little Lord of the Ringsy, to tell you the truth, like traversing through.
The difference is Lord of the Rings, they all have a character. They're all characters. They're not just there to die. They're not there to get sliced in half.
Fair enough.
So here's the thing. I'm gonna do this in two, right?
Okay.
So I want to talk about the Mae side of things, and then we'll talk about the Osha and the Jedi side of things, because it's hard for me to split up what order things happen in. I'm never good at that. So Mae and Qimir land on the planet. They have some brief conversation about debt to their master.
Right.
And Qimir says he didn't make a deal. You know, he didn't make a...
Not exactly, he says. Yeah.
Well, so he says a couple things. He says, I didn't make a deal, but I owe him.
Yeah.
And then she says... Mae says something, and Qimir kind of implies, like, you think I've seen
his
like,
face.
I've never, I've never seen his face. He says.
Mm-hmm.
She asks, "Have you seen his face? Do you know what he looks like?" He says, I've never seen his face." He doesn't say, "I've never seen his face." He dodges the question. He puts it on her. He says, "You know that, right?" This whole time he's playing the bumbling. He's stumbling over the cases as they get out of the starship. He stumbles over things. He gets caught in that, that classic Ewok trap near the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
He is playing the Darth Jar Jar everyone wants. The bumbling.
That's a good point. Like, that's a good
Right?
reference. That's a great reference to it.
He's doing the extended Master Yoda.
Yes.
Right? He is
Right.
playing the bumbling, innocent guy that's just caught up in all this. And I think I'm going to say the master. When I say the master, I mean it's Mae's master, right? It's Mr. Smiles.
Sure.
Whether or not he's the master or the apprentice, I don't care. That's going to be something that gets revealed or not at the end of the series. I don't think that matters to this season, at least, right?
Right. I would agree.
So yeah, we just see him be poor bumbling, poor bumbling Professor Quirrell,
He's
right?
Right.
It's that's the trope. And I love that. I love that so much, and he's so charming. I love
He's great.
Manny Jacinto, yeah. I love Manny Jacinto. He's so charming, he's so fun. But yeah, I think that we've gotten either one of two things, right? Either it's so painfully obvious that he's the master, and I have another theory as to who the master could be, that we talked about a little last week.
Yeah. And I said last week, I think ultimately Qimir is a Sith fanboy. I still stand by that even after this episode. I also think we get to a point. I'm just speaking in generalities now. I think those that are invested in the show, who like the show and approach it in a mature way, I'll put it that way. I ultimately think that sometimes we overthink things because it's fun to go down those roads.
Well, but Frank, this series is a mystery. This series is explicitly a mystery. We're supposed to read into them, right? Whether or not we're correct, we're supposed to.
There's the mystery. Brendock is the mystery. The mystery to me is not really focused on who the Sith is or who's Captain Smiles, whatever. I just think that sometimes people can sometimes overthink things to eventually say, "Aha, they didn't get me. I called it all along." They play that game, and
sure.
And I think sometimes, and I've been guilty of it myself, and I'm trying not to do it in this episode. I'm trying to receive what the show is telling me, and I'm taking it at face value. That Qimir's there to help Mae, has always helped Mae, and that he, in a way, does care for Mae. He says that in the episode. I could go either way. Is he lying to her? Is he just saying that? Maybe. Is it a manipulation thing because he wants her to continue on whatever deal she has? Sure, that could totally be it. But I'm choosing for this series to receive everything at face value, that it's a Sith, that he's a Sith master, because I think ultimately, I think it's fine if the show gets quote unquote cute, that it's been Qimir the whole time, a lot of people have also said he's a red herring, so there's
right. He very well could be the red herring. I think those are our two possibilities, right? He's a red herring, or that's clearly the two possibilities, because in every good, it's the only two. In every good mystery, right? You have they set up who the villain is from the beginning, and they want you to guess. They want you to get it, because in a good mystery, the audience should figure it out along with the characters.
Okay.
Right. And when they pull off that Scooby-Doo mask at the end, it's Mr. Thompson, the janitor. You kids and your meddling little robot, and Basil, right?
Mm-hmm. Basil was fun.
Yeah, I like Basil.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I like Qimir. I kind of thought it was fun that he's just a bumbling idiot.
I think
But
it's a great theory. It's a great theory. I love it though. Yeah.
yeah, Mae rejects Qimir when he gets trapped. I don't know. Did she set the trap, or did she
I
just
think
take
so.
that opportunity? That's what I'm not sure. You think she set the trap? That wasn't really clear to me.
I felt like she set the trap because she knows that when I tell Qimir I'm done with this, he's going to try and stop her from
Sure.
reneging on the deal. And in order to not have that happen, she's gonna tie
Get
him
him
up
out of the way.
because she says, "You're right. I did need you after all." And I
Mm-hmm.
think she's gonna be like, she's gonna offer him up. Her plan is to offer him up to the Jedi. That's why he's
Sure.
strung up. You know.
Sure. And then she goes to Kelnacca's little nest, and she finds him dead. Now there's something we missed in the beginning. They showed Kelnacca's drawings on the walls,
Yeah,
um,
like the coven. This goes back to the
which
coven, right?
mirror the coven symbols. Again, I was talking about last episode how I wanted to see where that symbolism continues, and I find it really interesting that this lone Wookiee in the jungle that supposedly no one survives in is just out there drawing these coven symbols, and then another symbol that looks like a yin yang symbol, which
Oh, I didn't catch that. Okay.
yeah, which reminded me of the Octo, the like meditating Jedi
Oh,
Octo.
that pool you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the top of Octo. I
Mhm.
know it's got a name. I don't know what the name is. I ain't that smart. Um, so yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know what it means. Maybe we'll dive more into that eventually.
I
But like,
wonder.
I'm sure they'll show a scene of Mae or Osha running their hand across it, all dramatically.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I
but
wonder if, like, after the events of Brendog, it makes Kelnacca rethink everything the Jedi stand for and try and see what are the ways that the Coven approached the Force or the threat. And I wonder if because of the guilt, he's like, maybe I need to figure this out. Maybe
yeah,
we were
and the Coven
wrong
very
to
much
go
had
after them like that.
yeah, and the Coven very much had this sort of isolationist, wildernessy sort
Mhm.
of vibe to their setting. Even though even though they were in like a fortress with a generator and civilization, they were out amongst this sort of um, remote area. Now, it's interesting that Soul is the only one of the four that did not put himself into like seclusion or become a recluse or anything like that.
Yes. Well,
And I don't
Indara
know if
didn't.
that's
I don't think
well,
Indara.
she
I don't think
didn't, but
Indara did.
she didn't, but she was out in the wilderness. We saw that the extra tattoo on her eye.
True.
Like there are signs that she showed some severe regret and remorse over, right? Like
That
she's
could
out on the
be.
frontier, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's.
So
I
I don't
think
know.
it's hard to say. In my opinion, it's hard to say exactly because obviously we know Torben has tremendous skill, and I think
Yeah.
Kelnacca researching the Coven shows an angle, but a potential angle of
Well,
guilt that he feels.
they also call this his home, so it's implied that he's just out here by
Oh
himself,
yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
he's not Vernestra says get extract him
Extract
from
him.
his home. So there's not it's the implication is there, and I think that what that tells us about Soul is Soul dealt with his guilt by taking in and training Osha, right? Like he had that
Yes,
to
absolutely.
compensate, whereas the others
Hmm.
didn't. So I just find that kind of interesting. But yeah, we get the Jedi moving through the forest. We get Schrodinger's big giant scary moths
Oh yeah,
because you don't show a
exactly.
dozen of those moths without using them again later. And what do they say?
Mhm.
Oh, they're attracted to light.
Titan. Exactly. They're
We're
gonna
gonna
come and
come
save the
back.
day next episode.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna save the day. I think they're just gonna interrupt, right?
Well, yes, in a manner of speaking,
I think
because
what's
it's
gonna
yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, we'll get into what I think's gonna where I think this is gonna go, but
Okay.
um it's just a nice little Lord of the Rings style, like you said, adventure through the forest. And then they stumble upon the hut. They all, say whoever's inside come out,
It's
whatever.
just very copy, very in the name
Now,
of the
in the name of the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order. Um, yeah, I
yeah.
don't know. It's nice little touch. Uh, Osha's standing there in the back. Um,
And basically
and
like a visitor's vest. Like
yeah,
they
she's
make
in
her wear a different. She's like she's an observer.
she's in her high vis, you know,
Yes.
UN
Yeah.
UN Peace Corps vest, whatever.
Right. That's
Um,
exactly what it is.
it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the blue UN helmets. Um, so she's standing there, and all of a sudden we see Captain Smiles coming down.
It was a cool effect as his.
You know
I
what?
enjoyed that. I enjoyed
I
that.
did too. I did too. I love the way he approaches because he walks down. He gets real close. Excuse me. Let's not be. Let's now lead into option two.
Okay. Yeah.
She gets real close. Goes. It dawns on her. She realizes her other daughter is alive.
I had the same thought, Sean.
Right? She has this moment where she pauses right up against her. I don't think she's threatening. I think she's like, this can't be real. It can't be true that you're alive, right? So I think, yeah, that's another
You think
that's
she's
another
on
hash. Corin.
Coral.
Coral.
Oh,
Coral, yeah.
I thought this could be Mother Anastasia.
Well, we saw Anastasia's body. We never saw Coral's
Yes,
body.
but
Corin's body.
she is a witch.
Fair. But how sick would it be for that? Because that mask, it opens up here, right? It's gonna come off. She's gonna have is it Darth Malak in KOTOR 2?
Yes, he has a
KOTOR?
little. Yeah, he
With
has
the
that
like
thing.
jawline. She'll have the jawline with the zipper ridge, or
Mhm.
she. You'll see like this burn up Zabrak face, and then the horns just shaved down to nubs to fit under that helmet. That would be so sick.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Boys and girls speculate responsibly. That's just
Right.
Look, as a dungeon master, it's my job to design cool non-player characters. So, that's just all
But
it is,
know,
right?
but like it is funny too because in the discussions between Qimir and Mae, they keep referencing as him, him, him,
Right.
and it's interesting too because, and this could just be just a thing of terms of be like a visibility thing or a representation thing when they're talking about Basil. Osha says he or they, and I feel like they're like, and I know the fucking woke ass group out there is probably going bananas hearing that.
Not
I didn't
the
care,
woke
but
group,
I think
the anti-woke group.
yes, exactly. Yeah. And so I think it's interesting that they're pointing out the pronouns of certain individuals in order to it feels like it could be the old switcheroo, but because when Smiles does the whole yoink thing, I'm like, that frame does look very feminine, if you will.
There's some feminine movement there. I know Molly Damon did a deep dive where she went and looked up people's hands on Google.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't look into it.
That's a weird side of Google. I never want to.
Yeah, she did some hand comparison. So shout out to Molly Damon for the dedication to the craft.
Yeah.
But
the love of the Lord, yeah.
I'll have to ask her what because I was only half paying attention to what they were saying on that stream. But I don't know. I think that's another possibility is Corin. Corin, is that her name?
Coral. Yeah, Koril. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because llamas with hats. Anyways. So that's where the episode ends. We get that great shot of the Jedi igniting lightsaber, which gives me fucking chills.
It was cool.
And they cut it. He does that big old force push. And they
which
cut
is like, but then see that thing also is like, maybe this is a not Coral, not Anastasia because of like the power displayed there.
No. The strength of the force, John, is dependent on the plot. The force is as strong as the plot needs it to be.
Fair enough. I agree. And so, but again, all that is just making me waver in terms of I think it's this, I think it could be this, and it is a sign of a great mystery of trying to it could be plenty of things, and that's the fun of it. As I said last week, it's fun to get in go down these little rabbit holes, if you will, and it could be this, it could be that. So I'm having fun with that aspect of the show. And like I said earlier, I didn't mind that they cut the episode there. I did go, oh come on, when they cut it there for sure. But we'll get episode 5 before you know it. Crazy to think we're halfway through the series now. So,
yeah, I think next episode's going to open up with all those moths coming in and just breaking up the fight. Because you can't do again. Schrodinger's weird forest moths, right? You set it up, you got to knock it down. It's like the clones always said in Battlefront 2: set them up, knock them down.
yeah.
All right, let's get into questions. Yeah,
let's do that. Excellent.
So Daniel says, that's E87 Daniel, Echo 87 Daniel. Since this episode is so short, what more would you like to see, or was the length good for the story? Could it have been shorter and combined with another episode? Yeah, I'll jump in on this one because we kind of covered it already. Would have liked to see more with Mae's decision there. I think overall they got everything they needed out of this episode. I think it could have been shorter, or I think it could have stayed this length and been combined with another episode. Yeah. I don't think you have to have a locked-in length for a series in Star Wars when you're streaming it, right? You can do one set of episodes, one episode's 35 minutes, the next one's, 97. I don't care. Do it, right? Like, we're going to be along for the ride. Just do it. That's my thoughts.
I'll say I also did see the argument of, was this show benefit better from a binge model? Because if it's dropped all at once and it's the binge model, then you don't care if it's a 27-minute episode, really, because you just go right on to the next one, and then there you go. So this doesn't even become a point of discussion at all. Like I said earlier, I think it could have been between 5 and 10 minutes longer. I don't know, maybe 15 even. Of again the whole Mae's flip. I just wish I get it, and it. Based on the flashback episode, I could see her getting to that point. I would have just liked to have seen a little more work from the episode to make it go, oh, okay. Or even I guess it would be hard to do in episode 2 of like a little more of a breadcrumb, of like, oh, Mae is okay, because they kind of reveal more of like her true reasoning for doing what she's doing. It's not because she subscribes to the Sith way, because she even shuts down Qimir when he starts reciting the code. She's like, yeah, I know. She doesn't care. There's a specific reason outside of just going to the dark side, and falling to the dark side, because the Jedi wrong. There's a specific reason she's going after these 4 Jedi, and by and large, she hates the Jedi in general. But there's a more specific reason than I want to join the dark side for power.
I think her reason for turning back, her sister's alive. That changes everything. Totally sound reasoning, right?
Yes.
There's no complaints there. So, whatever. All right. B Hannah 07.
That sounds familiar.
Says, I don't know. He must be a new fan over there. Changing Ki-Adi-Mundi's birthday. What's next? Owen and Beru's wedding anniversary? Look, we covered this one already. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get over it. Then there's an argument about a Wikipedia. You know what? Hey, Frank, I can make bold claim. I know I'm just a correspondent, but I think I speak for all of us.
Sure.
If you want to be part of that side of the fandom, get out. Get out.
Sure.
We're not here for that.
Yeah. No.
Right? You should be able to tell, we're not that. We're going to be critical when we need to be critical, but we ain't subscribing to this whole Star Wars doesn't care about canon. You're right. Star Wars doesn't care about canon. Doesn't fucking matter. There is no canon source for Ki-Adi-Mundi or any Sarean's age. There isn't.
They're aliens. They're like...
Well, the closest to canon.
You
So
know.
the closest source we have to canon that says Ki-Adi-Mundi's age is um, Star Wars, Forces and Destiny, core book, which is a Fantasy Flight product endorsed by Lucasfilm that lists a Sarean lifespan as near that of a human.
Oh, okay. And
It's a
that's
book.
what everyone's basing it off of?
No. They're basing it off legends. But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. The Fantasy Flight, Edge of the Empire, Forces and Destiny, and Age of Rebellion source books are often cited as canon. It was the first appearance of the Imperial Raider.
Okay.
Is Star Wars Age of Rebellion. First appearance of the Imperial Raider. Actually, it might have been Star Wars X-Wing, but either way, that's still part of the Fantasy Flight family of products. So there's me giving you the benefit of the doubt. Nothing else in canon says Sareans are this old, they lived to this age. This is when Ki-Adi-Mundi was born. No. There's a line in some old books that says he was about 60 when he met Anakin. Okay. That's legends. Get the fuck over it. Right? If you want to talk about the woke agenda related to Star Wars, or you want to talk about what the facts are, get the fuck out. Get out of our Discord. I don't care. I'm just going to start muting people. You know what? That's it.
Sure.
That's it. Frank, I apologize. Frank, you have the ability now to take away my moderator powers in the Discord. I've handed the keys over to you. So if you decide you don't want me making those calls, go ahead. But
well, I told you so.
Yeah,
I said, do what you must.
Yeah.
So,
early on, you and I had some conversations about what the podcast stance was on a few things.
Yeah.
And while I might have moved back to correspondent, I still stand by those things.
Absolutely.
We have another question from Daniel. Did anyone else feel the whiplash from going to episode 2 in the present to 3 in the past to 4 in the present? Thank God for the previously on. Yeah, I was glad there was a previously on. I'll tell you that. I don't know, Frank. What do you got? What do you think? What do you feel?
I think thank God there was previously on, because so I could see someone feeling a little like, whoa, what, huh? Because what happened in episode 3, there's a lot there, and now we're jumping back into the present timeline of these characters. So yeah, thank God for the previously on, basically. Yeah, you're right.
I think the whiplash was made worse by how short this episode was, and I think that you could have framed last episode. Like, instead of the opening shot, include a shot somewhere of them on their ship in hyperspace, and Osha is thinking back to the events, right?
Oh,
frame it, and then, because there was some discussion in our Discord about whether or not this should have been handled as multiple flashbacks. We talked about it last episode too.
Yeah, we did.
I came down on the side of wanting the multiple flashbacks, and I think that was my Lost brain. I love Lost, is my favorite show of all time. Brandon Hanna feels the same. So him and I both, understandably, we came down on that same side, because Lost is a great paced awesome because it's interspersed with these flashbacks that reveal character backstory. I, after this episode, feel better about the flashback episode last episode, right? I feel like I have the context to go forward and analyze certain things that happened this episode.
Yes.
That's
why I think
it's jarring.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, the whole flashback episode, I think, really is there to service the flip, right, with Mae.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah.
As well as the other details that happened, yes. But if you're going to do the flip right here, right now, where they did it, then you needed that full episode.
Yeah.
But then again, this also goes back to if this was all dropped at once, this isn't even a point of discussion, because you're just blazing through the whole thing.
Sure.
and you're watching right after you're not feeling the whiplash effect because you just watched it, episode 2, you just watched that 40 minutes ago and now you're on episode 4, right? So yeah.
Cool. Overall thoughts, Frank?
Actually, another point of criticism, I thought some of the dialogue was a little wonky between Osha and Jackie, and I love them together. Actually, I want to see more of them interact together. I just felt some of it was like, oh, this feels like I would read this in a High Republic book, and now they're just saying these words out loud. And
sure,
I think the execution of it all was a little wonky at times for me. I kind of was like, that sounds a little. But this, again, it is Star Wars. It is sci-fi.
But it is Star Wars, and it is also a Padawan speaking with
Citizen Osha.
Well, but so think about it like this, right? You're a Padawan. You're someone who's grown up in a religious military school. You've been taught this doctrine. You don't really get to think independently. You don't really get to think things outside.
But
and so,
to be fair, I'm not thinking about that stuff when I'm listening to the words, when I'm listening to the line delivery. I'm just talking about like the way it was delivered. I think using those words are fine and appropriate. It just the way it was delivered,
So what I was going to say was, because I definitely thought some of it was a little stiff, but I also think
wonky,
that I think that stiffness for me is indicative of the tension there between a Padawan and essentially a failed Padawan, right? Because although we know there's some respect between Osha and Jackie, and they seem like there's a friendship,
a kinship for sure.
What's Daphne Keene? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Daphne Keene, I think, came out and said a couple things about Jackie's motivations that aren't really pertinent to our show. It's Pride Month. Go Pride, but that Jackie is developing a little bit of a crush on Osha.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I think with that context, and then this context of if you're this very sheltered, I don't know, the stiffness to me, I guess, made sense. What I'm getting at, right? The stiffness made sense because of the context of the characters, right? Because you're this, it's like your older cousin, especially because they have the same master. Right. It's like your older cousin or your older brother who got busted for smoking cigarettes behind the bleachers, right? That's what Osha is. She left the Jedi Order. You could do that, right?
Right.
So I think that stiffness makes sense, and I think that especially with Osha's having this, we didn't really talk about this, but Osha's having this revelation where her powers are starting to come through again. Her force sensitivity is reigniting, right? Let's talk about mental health for a minute.
All right, let's do it.
One of the reasons I left the show in the beginning was due to my mental health, because I was dealing with some stuff. Ultimately, what I found out, I am severely ADHD. There was a moment when I first got my medication for it where it felt like the world opened up. My first 2 days, I looked like a zonked out fucking weirdo, just analyzing my world differently, right? So I get it. I totally get it. Like that moment where all of a sudden she can sense other creatures and she has this awareness. I get it. That sort of change of state in your mind, it's going to lead to some awkwardness. Now, I don't want to prescribe, here's the other thing, right? This might be me prescribing certain things and actions to these characters, but I will tell you, I had the first thought when that conversation came up, and then the more I thought about it and the more they talked about how her powers were coming, how, hey, I sensed that creature, right?
Yeah.
That to me, I don't know, that just
resonated with.
But also the way that conversation goes, Jackie starts by giving a proverb, right? This very Jedi platitude, and then
what we survived by.
No. She starts by saying how wonderful to experience someone growing beyond, right? Like, because it's about killing that fucking moth.
Oh,
right?
Okay, right.
So like it's always wonderful for a Jedi to experience someone dying. Is basically what she's saying. How cool, you got to feel that person dying. Oh, that's fucking morbid. And then she moves on to, she says, we aren't what happens to us, but what we survive. Which to me, that was more her picking a more appropriate proverb, because she realizes that Osha's been through a lot more death,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I agree. With all that said, I agree. The dialogue was a little stiff in that scene, in that exchange in particular. Especially because I don't think the dialogue was stiff between Osha and Yord, which is where you would expect
that was
which where you would expect the dialogue to. Yeah, I did too. I did too. There's a certain camaraderie there, especially when you consider that they probably came up together.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting that when you juxtapose the two. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually, real quick on Yord, I really like their discussion on the hillside there when Yord basically says to Osha, he's like, maybe it's, you're here to confront yourself,
Right.
And it's clear how much reverence he has for Master Soul. I
think to an extent this is about whether or not the end result is Osha rejoining the Jedi. I think the Jedi are being appreciative. I think whatever caused her to leave the Order wasn't something drastic. I think it was her inability to let go of her past.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think the Jedi are appreciative of that and understanding of that, and legitimately like, yo, let's, you're flawed. You're too flawed to be a Jedi, but that doesn't mean we don't want to help. That doesn't mean we want to help and respect you.
Yeah.
So especially Soul, and especially, I don't know. But
yeah.
Anyways, guys, hey, if you liked this and you don't like me yelling at you about being a chud, give us a sub. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram.
Subs over chubs. Subs over chuds.
Yeah, not chubs.
Man, I have a vacation brain. It's I got
glitter from this party hat everywhere. Hey, look, if you like this,
I'm sure Jill will believe that's where you got the glitter from.
Yeah. Well, I walked out. I was getting ready for the stream. I had my headphones on, the hat. I was trying to look for a clean shirt to jump on stream, so I'm just in my underwear. This party hat, she's like,
oh my god,
what? She just like, I walk out of the office and she just starts laughing at me because I'm like prepping for the stream. It's a great visual. Anyways, if you want to hear more about that, you want to get yelled at for being a chud, if you want to hear us talk about Star Wars in our very schlubby way, go ahead and give us a subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter. Jesus Christ, what is today? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Zanga, MySpace, and all the others. Follow Brandon on Sci for all your science communication needs. Follow the KOTOR movie channel.
Smash City, yeah.
Oh, it's Smash City. Okay, Smash City. Yeah. I should know that's where we originally aired the show. And follow Frank Janish Photography on Instagram for all of your lovely, lovely stuff. I've been Sully filling in for Frank and Kevin.
Brandon
and Kevin, thanks to Frank. And we will see you guys. Well, they'll see you next week. I might also be here.
Scoundrel. I like the sound of that.